we're kicking off today with The Rock, who fans have been wanting to see back in the ring for years, and last year it seemed like a match with Roman Reigns was finally going to happen. That was until The Rock told WWE that he didn't feel ready for the match back in January, but now rumors are again growing regarding a match, thanks to a comment by the Great One. On Instagram, Rock shared some photos of himself at a recent Make-A-Wish event, which was nice to see, but it was his caption that has had everyone talking. Speaking about meeting a young fan called Jaden, The Rock said that he told the 15-year-old a little secret that may or may not involve a WWE return and laying the SmackDown once more. This understandably got the wrestling world buzzing with talk of a potential return as fans continue to anticipate one final match for The Rock, possibly against Roman Reigns. The last time we saw the Brahma Bull, it was on the September 15th SmackDown, which saw himself and Pat McAfee take care of Austin Theory in the ring. Are you interested in seeing The Rock return, or do you think he'd simply be taking someone's spot who works full-time for WWE? Let us know in the comments. Over to AEW Collision, as last week's show saw Eddie Kingston defeat Andrade El Idolo in the main event, and the Mad King will face Bryan Danielson next week on Dynamite. After the show went off the air, Danielson and Kingston had a war of words, with Kingston saying he couldn't wait to beat up Danielson in the Continental Classic Blue League Finals. Danielson retorted that Eddie Kingston has never beaten me in his life, and then simply repeated, "Eddie Kingston is a bum," which earned quite the response from the crowd. We'll have to wait and see who will end up winning the Blue League Finals, and finally face the Gold League final winner, but expect an intense match on Dynamite when Kingston and Bryan face off. One thing that's clear about Eddie Kingston is that he will make his opinion on his opponents very clear, and has often laid into wrestlers who are fan favorites. CM Punk and Claudio Castagnoli have been on the receiving end of a tongue lashing from Kingston, and when speaking to Sports Illustrated, the Mad King shared his take on Bryan Danielson. "I'd love another match against Bryan. I don't like the guy. I'd love to break his other eye socket. We don't have a lot in common except for our love of professional wrestling. I make things up in my head, so I hate my opponent and be more vicious when I'm in the ring. I can't say it now because I don't want to get too amped, but I'm getting an edge any way I can. I've got my motivation, and it's a must-win. If you love hard-hitting wrestling, you're gonna watch. We're going out on our shields and fighting for the sport we love." Kingston may have to watch what he says or risk being fined by AEW's disciplinarian, though this would only give him another reason to hate on Danielson. The winner of their match will face the Gold League winner at World's End, with the victor becoming AEW's Triple Crown champion. And who do you think will win on Dynamite? Let us know below. In May of last year, WWE unified the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships, with the Usos defeating RK Bro to become undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. Earlier this year, it seemed WWE was teasing splitting the gold, with a handful of matches being for either just the Raw or the SmackDown titles, but in the end, the call was made to make the titles stay unified. Now though, it appears we could see the titles deunified after all, as BWE reports that there have been suggestions to split the tag titles during the build to WrestleMania 40. It's unclear who is suggesting this, though the decision will ultimately be made by Triple H, WWE's head of creative, who will weigh up the pros and cons of splitting the titles. It's interesting that WWE are considering splitting the titles, as it was reported not too long ago that new title belts had been made, which would mean the end of the red and blue titles we currently see. WrestleMania 40 will be a huge show, with Triple H wanting to make the milestone event extra special, and that could indeed see two distinct sets of men's tag titles on the line. Do you think WWE should go back to having the Raw and SmackDown tag titles, or should the gold remain unified? Give us your take in the comments. From the moment his non-compete clause in WWE expired, Mustafa Ali was announced for several independent promotions, and his name was trending on Twitter for hours. Ali is certainly getting his name out there, and it's interesting that he's using the Mustafa Ali name, given how meticulous WWE has always been when it comes to trademarks. WWE often ensures that released superstars can't use their WWE names outside of the promotion, but Ali is doing just that, and that's because of a major fumble by the company. It turns out that WWE never actually trademarked the Mustafa Ali name, meaning he has held exclusive rights to that name since the beginning, and he's free to use that name how he sees fit. Having that name recognition will help Ali in the months to come, and fans are excited for what's next, as the ex-superstar is ready to take the wrestling world by storm with his WWE moniker. Over the past few weeks, Randy Orton and AJ Styles have both returned to WWE programming, with the physiques of both men taking fans by surprise. While the pair have always been in great shape, the pair are looking better than ever, which has led some to suspect that these ripped physiques are coming from more than just hard work. Some fans suspect that the pair are taking performance-enhancing drugs, and on his podcast, Kurt Angle addressed the possibility that the former WWE champions are on PEDs. He said, "These guys are looking really strong lately. I know they have a wellness policy, so I don't know. I don't think they're taking any type of steroids, but it just looks like, wow. Randy looked incredible. He's got to weigh all of the 275 that he claims he weighs. Now that's what they said in his listing, and if he is 275, man is he jacked. I mean, that kid looked like I saw him in the background with AJ. There was a shot of him showing his side profile, and Randy was in the back with all these abs and just jacked. And I was like, wow, these two guys are like the poster boys for you do not take steroids. No, listen, I think they are. They're staying clean. AJ never dieted before, so that could be the issue. I know that for sure. I also know that he would train weights, but he didn't lift really heavy, so he could have changed his whole routine. And yeah, that could have helped him." Whether the pair are on PEDs or not, we know that Styles and Orton will be in an upcoming triple threat match, which alongside LA Knight will determine Roman Reigns' next challenger. Do you think that Orton and Styles' new jacked physique is due to steroids, or are these bodies just a testament to their hard work? Let us know down in the comments. In January 2019, Chris Jericho made the bold decision to join the upstart promotion known as AEW, instantly giving Tony Khan's company some name recognition and clout. Jericho would become AEW's first world champion and has had some of the biggest moments since then, but could he still make a return to WWE? On his Keepin' It 100 podcast, Conan suggested that for all of Jericho's talk about having no intention to return, the Canadian's career will end with his former employer. He said, "I gotta think that maybe there's a part of Jericho that's like, hey, after I've done my thing here, I would love to probably retire in WWE." Jericho may have said he never plans on returning to WWE, but that's been said by many ex-superstars who have all ultimately found their way back to Vince McMahon. Will Jericho be different, or will he indeed finish his career by returning to the company he worked for decades? Right now, only time will tell. Right now, Mercedes Mone is a free agent in wrestling, and speculation is rife as to what her future holds now that her New Japan deal's expired. AEW has shown interest in Mone, and New Japan are reportedly interested in re-signing her, but could the former IWGP Women's Champion make a WWE comeback? On his Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T said that Mercedes Mone belongs in WWE because it doesn't feel right seeing her elsewhere. Whether it's Mercedes Mone or whether it's Sasha Banks, to me, remember when you were talking about Jade and when she was in AEW? I love Jade, I think she's great, but Jade Cargill is WWE written all over her. What was your terminology? I feel some people just feel right in WWE, some just feel right. And when they go somewhere else, it's cool, but it's like, it just doesn't feel the same. And for me, Sasha Banks, Mercedes Mone, she is money. She deserves a bag. As far as I'm concerned, as being one of the preeminent female wrestlers in the last decade, and it feels like she's WWE bound. I'm saying it right now. Booker added that he feels like Mone has been gone from WWE for too long, and pointed out that WWE's regime backstage is much more different than it was when she and Trinity walked out. The two-time Hall of Famer pointed out to those who'd say she'd never return that people used to say that about CM Punk, and gave his bold prediction that Mone will return to WWE in 2024. Booker was so confident that he called Mone's WWE return a done deal. But are you in agreement with the former world champion? Sound off in the comments. In AEW, few wrestlers are on a roll more right now than Swerve Strickland, who many predict could be AEW's first Black World Champion in 2024. Strickland always gets a big pop from fans, with his theme song Big Pressure proving to be very popular, but now a different song has gotten the AEW star in trouble. On social media, Strickland was seen vibing to a rap song which contained the lyrics, "Had a chick but she was black and ugly," which didn't sit well with several fans. It came to a point that Swerve Strickland ended up deleting that video from his Instagram story, but still kept the previous videos of him vibing to the song. Strickland is set to square off against Jon Moxley and Jay White in a triple threat match for the finals of the Gold League, as Swerve has bigger things to think about than this unfortunate song choice. In August of last year, the wrestling world lost Bray Wyatt less than a year after his WWE return, but fans have been able to hear Wyatt perform one final time. On Twitter, Jason Baker, a special effects makeup artist and close friend of Bray, shared a video from Disney's Diary of a Wimpy Kid Christmas Cabin Fever, which features an appearance by Wyatt. Credited as Wyndham Rotunda, the late wrestler lent his voice to an unnamed prison guard who was seen berating the movie's main character, Greg Heffley, and his friend, Rowley Jefferson. Baker posted the video of Wyatt's posthumous cameo, along with a heart-wrenching message, calling it the greatest Christmas present ever to hear his friend again. This year has been difficult for the Rotunda family as Bray's grandmother passed away mere weeks before he did, and we'd like to continue to send our best to all those affected. Since coming to WWE's main roster, Bianca Belair has faced some of the top women such as Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Becky Lynch, and has become one of WWE's top women in her own right. Belair has come a long way from her early days as part of WWE NXT, but now the EST has her eyes on some stars of the Gold brand. Speaking on the Reality of Wrestling podcast, Belair was asked about who she'd like to face from NXT and had two superstars in mind. She said, of course Lash Legend, even when she first came in, any collegiate athlete, because they have a similar background as me. I saw her when she first came in and she recently had a great showing. I think there's a lot of greatness to come from her. I would be so excited to get in the ring with her one day. Tiffany Stratton is doing amazing things. I was very impressed with her, like how quickly she became a champion in such a short amount of time. I don't think people realize how impressive that is to, maybe there'll be a year and some change in your champion. You're being thrown into that, and she did so well in that role. I think she's a star now, and she's gonna be a star in the future. Both Stratton and Lash Legend are making waves in NXT and are expected to come to the main roster eventually, with some believing Tiffany is already ready for that move. When those call-ups do happen, Bianca Belair will be waiting. And what do you make of those potential matches? And who else from NXT do you want to see face the EST? Now, 2023 has been an epic year for Seth Rollins, who is the reigning World Heavyweight Champion, and the Architect will be ending this year with a record no one in WWE can match. Rollins is WWE's only superstar to have competed on every single main roster PLE of this year, and we can expect plenty of big things for the World Champion in 2024. Earlier this month, WWE filmed their first ever speed matches before an episode of SmackDown in which superstars had to get wins in under 5 minutes. Bronson Reed faced Nathan Frazier, while Cedric Alexander took on Axiom, and fans at the taping noticed that the commentary team were seen calling the action. This led to speculation that the matches would be aired, and in an update from Fightful Select, it was noted that the plan is for WWE Speed as a show to air on social media platforms. The report added that many who were at SmackDown were completely unaware of the WWE Speed concept until shortly before the show, as they hadn't been told of plans prior to arriving. At this time, WWE has not filmed any more Speed matches, and we'll have to see what's next, but it may just be a matter of time until there's a new WWE show on social media. After the brawl at AEW All Out 2022, all the parties involved kept quiet as to what happened backstage in Chicago, and there's a reason why we aren't hearing from the Elite and CM Punk. Steve New, who is the lawyer of both Punk and Ace Steel, recently revealed that everybody involved in the brawl were under NDAs for life, but with one exception. New shared that Steele's wife, Lucy Guy, did not sign the NDA agreement, meaning she can talk about things, and in a tweet, Chris Jericho said he didn't sign one, teasing he's gonna spill the beans. This caught the attention of New, who said that there will be an NDA in Jericho's AEW employee handbook unless the former world champion has a very special agreement with the promotion. Jericho infamously called Punk a cancer after All Out, a comment that would be echoed by Seth Rollins months later, and was said to be a part of a team that tried to stop Punk from returning. While that team failed, Punk is gone from AEW now, and we'll have to see whether Jericho decides to spill more about All Out 2022, if he is even allowed to talk. Earlier this month, the Von Erich family made an appearance for AEW, and on the ROH Final Battle 0 Hour show, Ross and Marshall Von Erich competed against the Outrunners. The Von Erichs won that match with the Claw and clearly impressed management, as the duo were brought back for the ROH tapings that happened after last week's Collision. The pair teamed with Bryan Keith for a trios match, and between these matches and the buzz around the Iron Claw, we may soon be seeing more of the Von Erichs in Ring of Honor. In recent months, AEW has seen several prominent names leave the promotion, and last week it was reported that Dana Massey was stepping down as Chief Marketing/Merchandising Officer. Massey is also the wife of Matt Jackson, and following the news of her exit, some suggested that Tony Khan was clearing house and getting rid of employees he felt were under-delivering. In a social media post, Jackson cleared up the situation and emphasized how important she was in the early stages of AEW, even back when the popular wrestling promotion was just an idea. Matt also dismissed the idea that Khan had fired Massey, saying that she was leaving on her own terms by her own choice, and concluded by saying he'd see her at dinner. Massey is one of several exits, alongside QT Marshall and AEW's VP of Live Events, Rafael Morphy, as AEW is shaping up to be a very different company, at least backstage, in the new year. From the moment Ric Flair made his AEW debut, speculation grew about a potential match, as Ric has made it clear time and time again he didn't like his final match in July of last year. Speaking on the Wrestling Classic podcast, Flair was asked about his potential future in the ring and revealed that he is cleared to compete if he wanted to. "My health is good, I've been cleared. I can get in the ring, I'm not gonna wrestle, let's clarify that." Ric Flair has teased having another final match in the past, but is now saying he'll never wrestle again. And do you think we'll see him compete one more time? Let us know down in the comments. Recently, it was noted on social media that L.A. Knight got married, and the Twitter world was full of well wishes for WWE's megastar. Fans wished Knight and his bride a lifetime of happiness, which was nice, except for one problem. That being that Knight did in no way get married this month. On Twitter, Knight clarified that he's been in a long-term relationship with his girlfriend Michelle and has been since 2018, and made it clear that he didn't get married this past week. Earlier this month, Tammy Sytch was sentenced to a combined 17 years in prison, as well as 8 years of probation, for her role in the death of 75-year-old Julian Lasseter. In court, Sytch laughed and sobbed as the judge gave their verdict, and told the Lasseter family that she deeply regrets what she did, but she's now seeking a change to her sentencing. In an appeal filed on December 20th, Sytch is trying to change the length of the sentence rather than the verdict itself, but there's no word on whether this will work or not. Should it fail and Sytch serve the full 17 years, it'll be 2040 before she's a free woman again, and hopefully this time will be spent reflecting on the destructive actions that brought her to prison. The last time fans saw RVD in WWE, it was a cameo during this year's WWE Draft, and even this was the first time we'd seen the former ECW star in WWE in some time. While RVD has made appearances for WWE, they are very rarely of any note, and that may be down to WWE's head of talent and creative, Triple H. Speaking on Marty Jannetty's Party with Marty podcast, RVD spoke about the game and said that their relationship has been a hurdle to making a more fully fledged return. He said, "No, I never really talked to Hunter. If I had that relationship with him where we talked, then maybe I would be there. I'm assuming that's a big reason why I'm not there. Everyone can see that I'm still in fucking better shape than ever. I can work with a motherfucker. If you ask me why I'm not there, I'd probably say relationships with The Office, but I don't know." RVD and Triple H also had heat with each other for a long time, and has said that the game's offering to help RVD with his promos in the early 2000s came across as very insulting. RVD recently said that appearing for AEW may have cost him a WrestleMania booking, as there's still some bad blood, so don't expect RVD and the game to be appearing together anytime soon. And we're ending with some WWE and AEW competition, as each week the pair host events with the sports entertainment juggernaut often coming out on top when it comes to attracting live fans. For the fourth week of December 2023, this was no exception, as WrestleTix notes that Raw at the Wells Fargo Arena did 6,662 tickets, far more than Dynamite at the Paycom Center with 4,631. This week's SmackDown was taped last week, and there were 6,240 tickets distributed for Green Bay's Retch Center, while this week's Collision moved 3,841 tickets at the Frostbank Center in Texas. It comes as no surprise that WWE has once again demolished AEW when it came to live attendance figures, as this is almost always the case, and we'll have to see if there's a change in 2024.